Welcome to the Home Service Expert, where each week, Tommy chats with world-class entrepreneurs and experts in various fields like marketing, sales, hiring, and leadership to find out what's really behind their success in business. Now, your host, the Home Service Millionaire, Tommy Mello.
Hey, welcome back to the Home Service Expert. Today I have Yano with me. He owns a huge advertising agency. You guys probably heard of him. He's from RYNO. Going to tell you a little bit about him. He's an expert in entrepreneurship, internet marketing, search engine optimization, pay-per-click ad management, sales, mobile applications, web design, app design, and account management. He's based out of Phoenix, so he was able to come here, spend some time with us here at the main shop here in Phoenix. So he's the CEO from 2008 to now of RYNO Strategic Solutions. He's the co-owner of the T-shirt shop from 2013 to now. Yano Motorsports race car driver from 2007 to 2016. Sequoia Technologies, IMS National Business Development Manager. You did that for about a year.
Yeah.
And AT&T Advertising Solutions District Sales Manager for a couple of years. You were a former race car driver who runs a digital marketing consulting business now. He's the CEO at RYNO, a digital marketing company based out of Phoenix, and he specializes in HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, but I don't think there's a lot of home services you won't touch.
Pretty much, yep.
And I was on his podcast recently. He's the co-host of the To The Point Home Service podcast, and he's done countless keynote speeches, breakout webinars on successful digital marketing, best practices for home service companies. I really appreciate you coming in, man.
I'm glad to be down here. It's always nice to be able to do these things in person.
It is. And I've only done a few here at the office. We've had Ken Goodrich, we've had Michael Gerber, stuff like that. But
my guys, yeah.
Pretty interesting. You know, I've seen you done a lot of stuff with Ken. You also had Michael Gerber. It's kind of, we've done a lot of the same interviews, and
Yep.
I've heard a lot. You know what's funny is I've heard a lot about you way before I even knew who you were. Just the RYNO brand, and just it's pretty cool that you guys have done what you've done in the home service space. So tell me a little bit, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and you know, what you've built over the last.
Yeah, sure. So, one, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. And for those listening, Mark, you got to check out Tommy's podcast on ours. It was fire. He put on a clinic on ours, so I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, so I didn't mean to get into the home services space. I got sucked into it. I've heard that so many different times. And I'll tell this story. I'm like, one thing that, if anybody knows me or has listened to me speak or has listened to our podcast, I'm as candid and transparent as they come. I don't hold anything back. I didn't go to school to get into internet marketing, nor did I have any interest in getting involved in the home services space. So I went to college, Indiana State University. I was a wrestler. I went in there, played soccer. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to party. I knew that. I was really good at doing those things. I went to college for 4 years to get a 2-year degree in criminal justice, and then I got a DUI. So when I turned 21. So it kind of made my parents real proud of me, squashed that career path real quick, and I had to pivot. So I come from a big farm family. I'm from Indiana, so shout out to any of my Hoosiers listening. But my grandpa's a retired farmer out here in Arizona, and he flew me out to visit with them, and I was like, this place is pretty badass, so I wanted to make the move, and I literally left Indiana and moved out here on my own and started figuring it out. My sister went to go work for this little company called Google back in 2000, so early on.
Wow.
And so she had kind of made me aware of all the internet stuff that was going on. And man, one of my first professional corporate jobs, if you will, was working for Dex, which I know you've been involved in. But back then it was like US West, Quest, Dex. Like its name changed I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
But that's how I started getting into the advertising space. And once they started introducing online, the online marketing side of it is when I started kind of getting sucked into it and enjoying it more. So, I mean, the RYNO thing, I've been really 12 years only doing digital marketing. Still to this day, it's the same thing, except when it was just me then, now there's a little over 100 of us. Only doing digital marketing for the trades, more specifically HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, that type of stuff. So, sit here today, and it's I'm not doing the work anymore, the SEO, the PPC side of it. I'm doing all the strategic side of it, which is the side I like the most.
Yeah, I saw just earlier. I was looking on your stuff, and you have an amazing website you guys built for just a little over $5,000, and that's soup to nuts. Tell me a little bit about some of the services you offer, and why somebody should I'll tell you, and I want you to answer that, but so many people are the jack of all trades. They do everything. We'll do this. And I've heard so many huge, and some of them. I mean, Scorpion's a big company, and the trades, and they do everything. Tell me about what you do and what you specialize in.
Yeah, sure. So great question. This is something I get asked often, and everybody wants to know what's the difference. And on one of our podcasts we shot this morning, the same question had come up again. I learned one thing, and maybe this is because I have ADD. I can't focus on a lot of things at the same time. So I have to laser focus on what I can do, which is why wrestling was such a great sport for me coming up, is I could focus on what I was doing and I have to worry about what my team was doing. And I've just kind of lived that life of focusing on one thing. Well, once I started my own company, and one of my very first customers was about a $30 million HVAC and plumbing company in Indianapolis, Indiana. I had to go meet with this guy every other Tuesday. And so every other Tuesday I had to go in, talk through what I just did the previous week, cost per lead, cost per acquisition, how many new service leads, install leads, drain cleaning leads, you name it. So it sucked on the Monday night before having to go and meet with them. And all I knew at that point, I learned so much about how to pull in different types of leads and the costs for him that I thought it took so much bandwidth just to focus on that. And it was just me. So as we started to grow, now he was also was a carrier contractor, and Carrier's headquarters is in Indianapolis, Indiana. He was part of their dealer advisory council, and it was what did you do, man? We grew 3.1 million with him that year, organic growth. That's the stuff that we brought in for him. And they were like, what did you do? He comes to me and says, how big do you want to get this thing? You're in the name of the company back then was called Brickyard Marketing, which is a local name, play off my old racing career and things like that. And I had said, well, I'm in, let's go. And I decided at that point in time that I would focus only on, really I thought it was going to be HVAC. But then so many customers were doing multiple services. Right. And then especially today, today everybody starts layering in, if you're HVAC, they're layering in plumbing or whatever.
Electrical, yeah.
So it just, I decided if I focus on just like in wrestling, if I focused on the same moves over and over and over again and I perfected them, that I feel like I could never lose if I just always trained on those. And the same mindset came in running this company is if I just did these home services every day, I would be the best at it. And that's how I feel we are today, except now versus it being me, there's 105 RYNOs.
That's crazy, man. That's huge success in a
pretty fun ride.
Marketing company. So what did you wrestle, 105?
Dude, I was a 100-pounder, man.
100 pounds? Nice, dude.
I'm not much bigger now.
It's like phantom weight.
Pretty much, yeah.
Phantom weight.
I had this dude on our podcast who was the first UFC lightweight champion, Jens Pulver, come on.
Oh, wow.
And he was like a 3-time state champ wrestler, so he accomplished far more than me. But he was a little guy. And then I'm bigger than him now, but he looks stockier than me. He's a little shorter.
Oh, yeah.
But he was also a UFC lightweight champ. So
that's awesome.
Ain't nobody talking smack to him.
No, I don't think so. So digital is the way to go. I mean, I built my company. I tried Yellow Book, and it was right when Yellow Book was dying. And then I got into mailers, and I'm still a fan of mailers, but they're kind of like, Money Mailer just kind of went under through the COVID thing, which is crazy. And Valpak still does okay, and you've got all these different mailers, but everything now, reputation management, millennials, and millennials bought more houses last year than baby boomers for the first time ever.
Right.
So talk to me about what's new with digital. Talk to me about SEO versus Google Local Services versus GMB, that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. I think that one of the questions I get a lot of times is, what should I be doing? Should I only be doing pay-per-click? Should I only be doing SEO? My opinion is always do what works, but just track it. Make sure you're tracking everything so you know what works. We're not guessing. I'm always a fan of do both. If you can do pay-per-click and SEO and you do it the right way and somebody knows your trade, knows your industry, what your consumer, how they buy, and you do a good job at actually doing search engine optimization, it's not this fake smoke and mirrors thing because it can be subjective.
Sure.
But it's all about the rankings, man, get me to rank high. But the way our methodology is, you got to build a page for every service that you offer in every location that you offer it. Hands down, that's the way you go about it. The majority of our competitors weren't doing that till they've heard your boy Chris Yano here giving so many keynotes on saying, build a service page for everything that you do in every location that you offer it. That's half the battle, right? At least you got the page done. What you want to do is when you're running a pay-per-click campaign, if somebody's looking for garage repair, Paradise Valley, you want them to go to the page on the website about garage repair in Paradise value. That's the most relevant thing you can possibly deliver up. If you've done a good job with your search engine optimization, you can reduce your cost per click on your pay-per-click campaign, which drops the cost per lead down, which is what we're in the game, man.
Yeah.
The most amount of leads for the least amount of money. That's been the same thing every business owner has said to me since day one is, I want the most amount of leads for the least amount of money. And it's on me to do it. But those two things are, what we've learned is you can't cut corners. Like with SEO, you can't, I always talk, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. There's some pieces that are bigger than the other, meaning there's some things that you do that have more value than others. Sure. But you got to put the whole fucking thing together to complete the picture.
Yep.
Right? So if you leave out a couple of the small pieces just because they're small and you don't want to do it, like tagging an image, you aren't completing the picture, which then allows companies like us that do 100% of it to start to pick you off one by one because we're willing to, we staff. That's why I have that many people, is it just takes that amount of bodies to execute.
It's interesting because I talk about all this stuff like geotagging, making sure the reviews, keyword content, not keyword stuffing, no hidden links, do follow versus non-follow. Yeah. There's so much to it. What is your take? I've got a book up there called The 4-Hour Work Week, and the 4-Hour Work Week is Tim Ferriss saying, you can work 4 weeks if you hire VAs, you do it right, and that's not in a home service business. Who are we kidding? But what is your take on hiring people that do some of that stuff overseas in the Philippines and Russia and all these different places?
Yeah, dude, I do everything in house. So, and would it be cheaper? Yes, but would it be the best? Would it be the RYNO way? No. So we did it early on, and there was too many hiccups. So I never did it again. And so if I looked at it from how does it impact my bottom line, it's not as great because it costs me more money to bring those bodies in.
Sure.
But I'm looking at it from the long-term play, right? Because I'm not an option for the masses as a company. Like, we don't work with everybody that comes to us. So, but we work with those that are part of the RYNO family for a long time. They stick with us because they always know where we stand. But I have to use my in-house team that I can control to move if somebody says, Chris, I need drain cleaning leads, or one of my sales guys, I need drain cleaning leads, or account managers. I need to be able to go right to that team and say, beef up cost per lead, beef up your daily budgets on it. I need to be able to do those things now and have complete control over it. When it goes overseas, there are those obstacles. So I hate to say, man, but you get what you pay for.
Oh, you do. I agree wholeheartedly. There's always been these games with Google that I've played. It's just, you know what? Some days they want tons of links. Some days they want local links. And with your main brand, you got to stay committed and do what they want. But SEO, in their general terms, is not allowed. I mean, there's no such thing as SEO. They want to grow organic. They want links organically. Yep. So I want to talk about something that's really, I've been talking about this week and today. I talked to one of my good buddies, Josh Campbell. He was on the podcast. He's out of Fort Worth. And he was just explaining to me Linux, who you guys worked closely with, is you've got Train, you've got Goodman, you got Linux, you got
Carrier.
There's so many. Mm-hmm. But in every industry, we're trying to get way more involved with charity. We're trying to go to these black tie affairs and basically auction off nice garage doors. And a lot of times Linux will go ahead and pay for this kind of stuff, and then you just got to rent the crane, do the install, pay the labor. They're not playing ball with me, my manufacturers. In a lot of industries, whether you're a window washer, HVAC kind of invented, like, let's get involved with charity. And he said, dude, it's awesome because we're sponsoring a great charity. We're getting the attention of all these business owners and people with money on nice houses. And we're also getting the link juice of local charities. It just as you're involved in the community. But the question for you is, you've worked with a lot of these manufacturers. Enterprise I just went to, because I'm just going down a list. Sure. And I buy from Enterprise my vehicles. And they said, well, absolutely get involved with that. But do you have any tips? Because this is a multi-question. So first of all, how do we get them to partner with us on different things like that? Secondly is, how's it going to help the SEO? What do we got to make sure to make that happen?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a good question. Well, I can even give our own example. So we have a RYNO service day every single month, where we, on a Friday, with the exception of our customer service, everybody goes and serves somewhere in the community. So since we're here in Phoenix, we've been to St. Mary's Food Bank, we've been to, I don't even know how, every month we're going someplace new, or sometimes we repeat. And the point of that is, for us, is that we genuinely like to give back to the community.
Sure.
So from that, what we will do, though, is we'll take our videographer team or our photographers, and we'll take pictures and images because we want to be able to promote the organization that we're going and helping in hopes that others that are following us might go and do likewise. But what we will also do is create the images for them, write the story, and give it to them for them to post on their own blog and give us the nice little link back. Now, we're not doing it for the link. It's a byproduct of the reason of doing it.
Well, it's a bunch of birds with one stone.
You got it, man. But so it's good because we like to do those things. Now, we have some customers that do an exceptional job in the community, and they're doing everything. Because I heard somebody told me a long time, doing good is good business. And if you are doing a lot of things in the communities, it's okay to ask them to, how can I, when you say, how can I help you, what can I link to you, ask to reciprocate. It's okay to ask those questions. You're creating partnerships with the people you're getting involved with.
Yeah.
But the value, especially if it's like a .org or if it's a .edu or anything like that, like it's a school or an organization, if you can get a link back from them, that's got some power to it.
Yeah.
So you helping them in turn can help you back if they can just report or write a blog. But I'll tell you this much: you're better off writing it for them if you want to get them to get it done, because of what a lot of people do best is nothing. So you got to kind of push and do it for them a lot of times.
Which is guest blogging in general. You're going to write the blog and you're going to find a way to find a commonality of your site. So if you had like John Deere, you would talk about like winterize your home, winterize your landscaping, winterize your garage door, and find a way to bring it in. So all of it is about winterizing before the winter, and then you've got the garage door, and that's where your link is.
Yeah, you guys do a really good job on your podcast page of linking everybody too. So I think that's a brilliant way to do it, because if you're going to start linking everybody up and sending value to them, the hope is that you can get some sort of reciprocation from that. So I think that you guys did a great job on that piece of it.
I've never really worked really hard on the blog. We're actually starting to do more things with that. I never really looked at the podcast as a revenue source. Actually, it's guys like you coming on the podcast that I get 10 times more value just by sitting here for an hour and being able to ask these questions. And I've got a lot more, so this is going to get good. So I love the idea of the charity. So you've been working with these manufacturers. Today you said you had one. You said it went amazing, Bosch. So you had them on your podcast, but you're getting to know these manufacturers, and what makes them tick? How do you get them to get involved more and give you special deals? And is there any ways that you've found that to really make moves with them?
And here's what a manufacturer cares about. They care about market share and brand awareness. And if you can accomplish those things through their contractors, you're good. But you got to make sure they know. So this is where, like, if a contractor, like for instance, Linux, we're a preferred digital marketing vendor of Linux. So we've been a part of that for 3 years now. The reason they continue to bring us in is we help their contractors buy more equipment. So basically, somebody goes and searches for AC installation online. We make sure we pull that homeowner into their site and get them to call. And then it's on the contractor to get it locked up. But it's my job to bring it in. I'm just tracking everything to make sure that Linux knows also, down to the dollar, what we brought in for revenue for ABC, heating and air conditioning. So as long as I'm helping their customers, the contractors, grow, sell more, and I'm helping maintain the branding on their site, then they're happy with me because I'm helping them gain market share and maintain their brand awareness.
So that makes sense to me, and I know, so I always say what's in it for me. Whipham is what's in it, so what's in it for the other guy? I'll tell you what I'm coming up against is I've got an industry that never heard of asking for charities and asking to get involved. And they've never heard of a rebate program. They've never heard of sponsoring my advertisings to grow brand awareness. So
you guys don't have co-op?
Very, very 1%.
Ooh, okay.
They've never, I'm telling you, and a lot of the people listening, they're in a lot of other industries. I mean, I can't imagine that Honda's giving away mowers. Maybe they are. I don't know as much about landscaping. I know, like, I used to be involved in landscaping, but there's anything from window washing to pavement on redoing driveways. There's just so many people that listen to this. And let's just say you were in a really uneducated about how co-op and how this can increase your brand, or just, I don't know how to say, maybe they just don't know as much on how it can benefit them, but what would your pitch be? Because number one, I would shoot a video with Giuseppe here. We'd make an awesome video. we would get a link for them. We'd mention them in front of all these wealthy business owners at these black tie affairs. We would guarantee them and show them that we $2,000 towards promoting it on Facebook, whatever that looks like. But what would your pitch be to say? Because I'm curious for the listeners that might say, how do we even approach these people and what's in it for them?
Yeah, it's actually, you're asking them for money, right? Or you're asking them to offset maybe future purchases.
For the donate stuff that they get for a fraction of the cost.
So Linux actually does a really great job of donating the equipment, right? But the publicity that they're getting from it, I mean, let's be honest, is big. It's huge.
It's huge.
And they called it's their Field of Love program, and it was wildly successful this past year. So they're doing it again now. Now, I genuinely believe, from knowing the leadership there, that is their heart, is to give back and help with that stuff. But there's also this value that they're pulling in, because every contractor in this town and this town and this town is pushing Field of Love program, and they're giving away a Linux system. But you have to ask. So if you ask, but you can't.
It's so funny that you said that.
You can't just go and ask and not have a plan, right? Like, you got to be able to say, I want to do this giveaway. These are the things I'm going to do. Would you donate this piece of equipment or part of the equipment? Like, we just did this. So RYNO, my co-host on To The Point Home Services, Tall Paul, lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Linux donated the system, and we covered the cost to install it for a lady that was there. I didn't know anything about it. To just brought it to me, but I was like, Linux is in, I'm in. You know?
Yeah.
And if it would have been Carrier, I would have been in. If it would have been anybody,
Sure.
I would have been in. But I think you have to ask. Like, I believe Paul is the one. Our Tall Paul went and asked them and said, hey, I met this lady, this situation. They're in bad need of a system. Linux, would you? And I'm not even buying Linux equipment, right? But we went and asked, and then we said, here's the publicity that we'll do along with it to help promote that for you in Linux. But you gotta ask, but don't ask without having a plan.
I like
to
that.
share with them. You know, you gotta share with them what you're going to do with it. So that way it's not just them, passing a piece of equipment to you.
So I love that. You heard that. Ask with a plan. And I think maybe, I talked to the CEO of a very, very large, the largest garage door manufacturer in the world. And he said, we never really got too involved with that, but maybe we could help out somewhere. And I didn't really have, I said, look, this is really preliminary at this point. And I didn't have a big plan, but I like what you said. Whiteboard it and say what's in it for them. And figure out a way, you endorse that video, it becomes, look, and I like the way you said tracking. We've got KPIs. I'm sitting here with 4 monitors.
Right.
I've got dashboards, and I'm just looking at stuff that before I was like, KPI, is that like miles per hour? Is that like kilometers? But it's funny because you were a race car driver. That was the.
Right, I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So you've been doing this so long, and you've had a podcast. You've been talking to these brilliant guys, and you must have a million gold nuggets. First, I want to talk about what the differences you see with. I'm just going to say 3. There's small, medium, and large, and I'm not going to define what those are because they're different per industry. But what are the differences you've noticed of the small, medium, and large?
Customers?
More of the ownership of these home service companies. Or the ownership and management and just business in itself.
Yeah, I think that, I would say those who have processes and those who don't. You've got your sales guys, you guys that work in the business still, and then you have your owners that work on the business. And then you've got those that are still doing both. So if I had to tier it out that way, it would be that dude that's like the technician that's split out and just trying to do his own thing. Right now, he's just trying to sell. He's trying to sell and get his jobs done and take care of them. He might not even think about having maintenance agreements, which is a key thing. With all the M&A talk that's that's been coming through COVID of these companies buying and selling and all this stuff, I've been through lots of podcasts where I've learned a ton about mergers and acquisitions. But maintenance agreements, service level agreements are key ingredient to you having a higher multiple. But the guy that's like the one truck Chuck, he was just trying to go and sell stuff and stay busy today because he's trying to build his business. The guy that's doing both, who might still be maybe he's doing some of the finances, he's still trying to run the company, but he's going and selling the big potential opportunities.
Right.
Is now starting to create processes, so he's kind of half-assed following some processes that work for him, but he's still trying to sell. I mean, you got the guys like our friend Ken Goodrich. who's literally a process driver. You plug in a technician, and this is kind of like your methodology, Tommy. It's where you have the end goal in mind, you work backwards to it. So you know how many techs you need based on your numbers to fill in that stuff. It's just a process-driven thing. But the guys that I think are a lot of fun to work with, for us is, it's the guy right in the middle, because he's kind of got it figured out. He just basically needs the fuel to get him going. He needs volume. If you have more volume coming in, he'd really start to focus on his processes, because he's got revenue coming in, he starts to add bodies. Those are a lot of fun. We've had a lot of successes taking guys from 2 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 10 million. It's been a lot of fun being a part of those over the last decade. But I think it all comes down to the guys that actually create the processes, focus on the processes, and then listen, ask for help along the way. If I've heard anything in the last few months, everybody is willing to help you. So if you find somebody if you find yourself in a room with 5 guys and you're at the top of that food chain, find a new room. Find somebody that's smarter than you and start asking them questions. People, I think, generally want to help.
Yeah, be the dumbest guy in the room, and the top guys actually enjoy helping.
Yeah, sure.
I really don't look at a lot of people as competition, and they're more than welcome. I've had 20 companies in here at one point showing them what's on these monitors, going, look, there's enough, and I always say this, but there's enough water in the ocean for everybody. You bring in that 5-gallon bucket, there's so much customers, and I'm attacking so many different verticals. I'm hitting it from 8 different ways, but I heard this the other day. A bad system will ruin great people really quickly.
That's good, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I don't care. You might not, the system is the only thing that you could take, and you know, Michael Gerber's big on this, but the system is what the business runs on. It's not great people, it's a great system, and that's why we talk about McDonald's.
Ray Kroc.
Yeah, Ray Kroc, and you don't have to have these amazing studs in the business. And there's amazing women joining the home service space now, more than ever before.
Yep.
We used to think plumbers, you know, the old conventional guy coming out. There's a lot of women getting in the trades now.
We actually have quite a few women customers that are phenomenal. One of them was my Bryant Dealer of the Year, Charlene Ierna down in Tampa, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Crushes it. She won like 9 Medal of Excellence awards. She's like a gator, like hunts gators.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's
on the History Channel, I think.
She's amazing.
Do you know Ellen Rohr?
I do.
Yeah, Ellen's awesome. She's super high energy.
Ellen Rohr?
Ellen? E-L-L.
Yeah, Ellen.
It's a woman. E-L-L-E-N.
I just talked to her yesterday from Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom Drain. Yeah. And Al Levy and all those. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, so you know, that's interesting because I talk to a lot of people about M&A. I mean, I've been kind of engulfed in learning about, because ultimately, you know, my goal is $1 billion, to get back to that. And I want to understand how to build value before I start building the company into this monster. We've already started, but service agreements are a big piece of that because you're putting a wall around your customers. But
your tracking piece of it's huge.
I'd
love to touch on that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because you started to mention it, and you and I had this conversation, and the way that we built RYNO was on the back of our retention. And the reason we retained was because we track everything. I mean, I am an analytical nerd. I love numbers. They don't lie to us.
No.
So if I work with a Gettle air conditioning out here, Ken wants to know exact numbers. I can give those to him. I've done it since day one. Here's what that looks like. The largest team in RYNO is our RYNO Tracks Call Listening and Reporting team. There's like 55 of them. Worst job in my company because they're listening to the phone calls that come through the site, every single one. Not 30 days later, not 60 days later. Like that. If it's in summertime, maybe we're on a week delay because there's thousands of calls coming in. The point is, like you do a good job of, is I listen to every call so that way I can hear who answered the phone. Now, I don't do call coaching, but I can certainly hear how the CSRs are answering the phone.
Oh, yeah.
If they butchered a lead or they missed an objection and kick it over to the customer. But I need to know lead type. Was it a new customer? Like, I'm talking new. This is the thing that probably pisses me off the most with most agencies that are competitors of mine. And it is that what they determine a new customer. To me, a new customer is a new bookable service or installee that was not a repeat or referral customer. That's a new customer.
So they've never existed in your database?
Not even in your system.
Okay.
So that's a new customer. That's what I'm being paid to do. If I'm not doing a branded effort, if I'm doing a direct lead gen effort, I'm being paid to bring in new people. So I report to that number. So, but if I do that, and you use your whatever field management software that you're using, you can tie in the revenue to it. I can see from the volume of people that came in the site that was a lead to the actual close revenue account to know what our return is every single month. But I'm also catching in there, I'm not held accountable for only for the closed revenue. That's not on me.
No.
It's on me to bring in the lead.
You can't close the bringing in the lead is 1/10 of it. You got to book the lead. You got to dispatch it correctly. You got to show up in a running vehicle. Then you got to earn the customer's business. Then there's a crazy word that some people hate called upsells. And it's not bad, especially if you sell HVAC. Why not talk to them a little bit about plumbing and electrical?
And if you believe in it and you believe that's in their best interest, it should be a piece of cake conversation. If you genuinely care, best marketing strategy ever, genuinely care, then it's okay. You should be. Don't do them a disservice by not offering it. They don't know unless you tell them. But I like the tracking piece of it because, and if COVID exposed anything, it was if you didn't have your shit together, like your finances, like paid attention to you, you weren't sitting on cash. You really had to watch all your numbers, watch every penny.
Oh yeah.
So we had a huge chunk of customers double down when everybody started pulling back.
That's exactly that's funny. I say double down.
Because if you track everything, you're not guessing what you're getting in return for every dollar that's being spent. And that's how we built this company, is making sure that every customer knows every month, every brand new customer that came in, their name, address, phone number, was it booked, did CSR book it, did the CSR miss an objection, so we don't offer call coaching, but they have somebody that does, at least I can catch it. But you got to track everything and leave you got to leave nothing unturned.
No bricks unturned or something.
You got it, whatever that thing is.
There's so many questions. This is gonna go a while. I don't really know if this exists, but some people say there's this rule of thumb of safe growth, and in my opinion, this is something that's interesting. It's a KFC is opening up every 8 minutes, somewhere around those lines, and it's hard to believe because they really took over Asia. So that's really where they're attacking right now. But
is that for real? That's a real number.
It's crazy because these guys came and shot this special about us. They're like, dude, you should have seen KFC. Like, they've got their shit down pat to a science. So ultimately, there's a book on my shelf called The Ultimate Sales Machinist. That wrote one on the second shelf, and he talks about how quick can you create a system to train guys. So we were out in my training center,
yeah, right.
And I think the biggest misconception about growth is, how do I get the leads? I think the lead part is easy. How do you maximize the calls coming in, build a fence around them, and get amazing conversion rates and average tickets when you go out there? And average tickets just comes by doing the right thing. You know, if I'm going to work on your door, I'm going to want to replace most of the parts that I could warranty and I'd have to come back. And anything that's got anything worn out, unlike most guys that are listening, that I will say that the people that are listening are actually really, really smart. It's the people that are on the Facebook groups that pride themselves on fixing a 1962. They kept an old blower motor from 40 years ago because thank God they have it. And I will admit that they made it better in the old days. But it's like, to me, it's just so much wasted time. My dad's like that. He'll rebuild an alternator that costs $120. I'm like, it just took you 10 hours. Like, you make about more than $12 an hour. But anyway, where was I going with this? Making guys, systems that... So what's a good growth strategy? How much should you grow? Some people say 10%, and I'm like, oh, I hate that. Grant Cardone says, think about growing 1,000 times, 10 times, which is 1,000 times. 100% times 10 times growth. Because when you think that way, you start to come up with innovation.
Yeah, so I think we see this 10% thing is like, if you don't know what to say, you say 10%. It's kind of what people have been trained to do. I've looked at it always different, and my mindset is like summertime is when one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody's like, oh, we're already busy in summer. If it's an HVAC company, we're already busy in summer. And I'm like, yeah, if you added more bodies, you could be busier and making more revenue, because everybody's saying we're already busy in summer. They might pull back on marketing spend.
Yeah.
Now, and if they do that, as long as it's no longer a leads game, it's a bodies game. It's because there's a lot of times we have to pause the campaigns because
they're booked out, or you raise the prices at that point. Their diagnostic fees go through the roof.
You raise the prices, and if you raise the prices, then you run the risk of giving yourself a little bit of a bad name. You know what I mean? Like, but that's what you have to do to slow it down.
Yep.
So I get it, but you have to. I don't love the idea of saying we're only going to grow 15% this year, or we grow 13% year over year. I like the idea of saying, hey, what are we going to do this next month and this next month based on current situation? Because what we have the ability to do, at least from our end, not with everybody, but with most, I would say 90% of our customers that aren't already 150 million, 200 million, like our big guys, is we might be on this trajectory of saying, okay, we're going to use 10%, 10% this year as our number. But what I've learned and how we built the company was doesn't need to stay the same every month. If like with COVID happening, and some of these companies were saying, well, I need to sell, we just onboarded like 5 new service technicians like that. Now if I was to follow that same percentage of growth they wanted to hit, we would have been holding ourselves back from them, because now just gained 5 guys, and now we can keep those. If we get those 5 guys busy, we're going to blow past this 10% goal. It doesn't make sense to try and follow that number. So I'm of the mindset of, like, RYNO we've never followed I want to be 10 million this year. I've never followed that methodology. I really follow a retention goal. So that's something that I focus on. My personal goal last year was doubling the profitability bucket for my employees. If I did that, that's because they were doing a good job for our customers and they were producing. So I attached all everybody's paychecks to performance to do that.
Sure.
But I don't have this goal of I want to grow 10% every year. I did make a mistake early on, and that was I was afraid to grow too fast. And all it was a mental game I had with myself that I was losing.
Yeah.
I don't want to grow too fast. I didn't have enough processes in place. I didn't have a plan in place to actually make the growth happen smart. But I had learned the business by being in the business, so I didn't know. But I don't like this.
It's almost like you're in prison. I have this CFO. He came on from North Dakota. Smart guy. I mean, he knows how to handle a business our size. He went from 20 million to 420 million. It was an ESOP company owned, where the employees own the company. Yep. Awesome guy. Taught me so much. We've got these KPIs per department, like just a master's degree. He's got a doctorate. He gave me a master's degree, right? So we came up with these budgeted targets, and I'm like, I can't wait to blow these out of the water, because I'm like, don't confine me to this stupid budget. And now I'm like, okay, I get it, because banks want to see every single private equity company, anybody who's really, really smart. They're not like guys like us, because I'm like, I want to go ahead, write your little numbers down, because I'm like that. But now I'm like, okay, beat budget. Then COVID happened, and I'm like, oh crap. And then now we're like back in growth mode. But we stopped the locomotive. Like, we've got this train. I don't know if I can do it on demand here. So we've got this train, and the train is going so fast, and then we had to shut off the train, which are the recruiters, the trainers, and the apartment, and the truck's wrapped. So I turned it off, and now I'm like, okay, now we're crushing numbers again. And I'm like, how? Don't think. Here's the different the brain shift. How do you get, like, you're good if you get 20 guys trained a month. How do you get to 50? And I know when I get to 50, I'm going to say, what? Okay, there's going to be some. I just read this book by Michael McCall. It's called Fix This Next. And the plan is, when you get to 50 guys in a month, what else can you do? There's something else going to break. Maybe it's the marketing. Maybe it's the GMBs aren't getting done. Like right now, Google can't get my GMBs done fast enough. I'm like, holy shit, you got to go through Pinkerton, and you got to. And I'm advanced verification. I'm like locksmith and garage doors. I got to show up there. We go through Pinkerton. They got to see my shirt. They look at my ID. They look at my business card. They want to see a spring. It's the only 2 industries that go through this huge advance, because those 2 industries went through a lot of fake GMBs. So anyway, I just think backwards about it, and just like, dude, don't put me in this bubble. But ultimately, fine, live in the bubble. But next year, I can't wait for like December 10th, when we're like, now what are the goals? And they're like, because he came from an industry that was manufacturing, right? And when you come, that is much more like, what are you going to do? You're going to pick up 20 more machines and somehow rent? You just can't grow that fast. This is different though. And you're in a different boat. Tell me a little bit about some of your goals in the next, and how far out do you set your goals? And I don't think they need to be percentages. But you know how I work backwards. Are you working backwards from anything, or what's your plan?
You mean for RYNO specifically?
RYNO specifically.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, one, let me just say this. I have a partnership with a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and Gary V pushes big time on branding. And the one thing that we did really poor as a company early on was branding, and mainly it was because we had manufacturer relationships that would, bring us customers. So and when you became the preferred internet marketing vendor for a carrier at one point, when I started the company, and then now into Linux, we didn't have to brand to bring in business. This was me losing against myself, because I'm thinking I don't need anything else. But then I started to figure out, what is my goal? What is the goal of RYNO? The goal of RYNO is to only ever focus on the home services, but I want to be at the spot where I'm donating $1 million a year to whatever I want, whatever organizations that we're doing. That is my goal. So how do I got to get to that? It's just me figuring out what number do I need to hit to be able to donate $1 million a year to different companies. And our goal for us would be trying to take that $1 million a year and split it into basically $100,000.
10 charities.
Whatever it might be. Or
Not
even
profit,
50,000,
whatever, yeah.
whichever one it is. And that is the driver for me. And every RYNO knows it. I don't question that piece of it. I don't have this this big number in mind, like you've got your billion. I don't have this big number in mind, but I do have this. I want to make sure that RYNO Scorpion is massive. Private equity, there's private equity there. But Scorpion is massive. But I would, head to head, I win. You want to know why I win? I've been doing it for 12 years every single day, and I've only done this. Scorpion started in the law firm space and added home services into it. And they build absolutely gorgeous websites, great websites, but head to head, you just can't beat me. I got too much data to win right out of the gate.
Right.
So I take pride in that. So what I want to do, like a perfect example is, right now I'm in talks with 2 other competitors of mine who I want to purchase, I want to buy, because I want to build like the dream team. Remember the old school dream team?
Oh yeah.
I want to build the dream team, not just to be a big company to give $1 million, but to be like, man, the best digital company in the home services space was this company called RYNO. Like, they're the company.
There's legacy there too. There's pride.
Like, you gotta do. Like, I got 4 kids. They look at this, and somebody asked me this question. They said, asking my kids are 20, how many? Because they got 4.
20, 12, 8, and 5.
2013, 9 and 5. That's pretty
man.
close. But it's fun to ask them what I do. Because they're like, oh, they help build companies.
Oh, that's
or they
cool.
do charity. Like, so they don't know I do digital marketing, but they just know I help grow companies. That's what they hear. You ask my son, he's like, what's Daddy do? Daddy talks on the phone. Like, that's what he thinks I do. But my big goal here is to, my big northern star is to just be like this. If I can donate $1 million a year, I'm 41. If I can donate $1 million a year for the next 10, 15 years, I'm feeling pretty good about my legacy as a human being on the things I was able to accomplish. It's just that RYNO was the tool I had to do it.
So Gary Vee is all about his build your personal brand, and you can use vehicles to get there. He's using his shoes and social media. He started with Instagram, then he went to Snapchat, I think, and now he's doing probably TikTok. I don't even know.
He does all of it, yeah, pretty much.
I think that's super important. I think for me, I have to have a number to work backwards from, and it's a big number to hit. But what's so crazy is it seems like, look, if I go to the store, I'll be honest, today I flew back from Dallas, I had two what are those, orange juice and champagne, mimosas.
Oh, mimosas, yeah.
And it was $25 for 2 of them. And I'm cheap. I'm like, man, this is why we charge what we charge for groceries. Because it's a service. If I went and made those and people go, well, if I went on Amazon and did this, and I'm like, yeah, but you called us out. We're with a brand new truck. We got trained guys. We're background checked, drug tested. Like, it's different. We love the air conditioning that's working now. But the point is, it's like I'm frugal, but $1 billion for some reason. $25 was a lot today, but $1 billion for some reason, it's like my brain. It's like what do they call that? Your alligator brain. It's like it just thinks differently about those numbers. So I like what you're doing though. You've got a bigger cause. My cause is at this point because I think people are going to be better off working with us, and there's more jobs and more money created and more financial freedom by working with us. And I say with us because without the team around us, we don't exist. I mean, literally, like, I can't do this stuff. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not going to go do a $20 million show for, I'm not Tom Cruise. So, and, I'm glad about that. And I like what you said about building a brand. Let's talk about that because Ken's done a good job.
Oh, yeah.
Ghetto, it's hard to spell, and he's got this, his dog and the flashlight. I held my flashlight for my dad, and I I never knew the power of still. And some of these guys, even at this company, go, "Why do you study HVAC? We're garage doors." And I'm like, I study anything that's working. I study anything, and I want to surround myself with that. But why not find the most elevated home service? Is there any other home service space that's more elevated than HVAC?
No.
There's not. So follow the lead. Follow the lead, and then tell me about this brand stuff, because this is a great topic.
Well, brand's never been more important than it is right now. Like, if you ever listen to any of Gary Vee's content, he preaches that. And that's kind of where I was going with my last story, is we did such a piss poor job of branding ourselves and relied too much on these manufacturer relationships. But what happens is if those went away, I might be in deep shit. So I had to make sure I started branding ourselves. So that's the whole reason that I started hiring a brand manager, and building out a video team, and Gary is a part owner in the social media side of our company, the video side of our company, and so he's been very helpful in us pushing that out there. But branding has never been more important. And again, man, I'm so sick of saying the COVID word, but like, it is what it is. COVID exposed you if you didn't have good branding. But you can't say, okay, well, in the middle of COVID, I'm going to start focusing on branding, even post-COVID. You have to start, but you certainly can't rely on it right now if you need leads, because you're too late to the game. You had to start focusing on it. But if it did anything for you, if you've not been focusing on it, you felt that pain once COVID hit, things started getting crazy. So branding is more important. You've done a great job of branding, and like I told you, man, I knew about you before we ever met too. And then I was joking with you today, man, and I felt like the last few mornings I wake up and I see you on my damn TV, and then I'm staring at Tommy on the damn TV screen.
So you're like, you're targeting me, get out of it. You text me, you're like, dude, get out of my TV. I like that. I like the strategy to think about brand, and I think I'm really curious to hear what you learned from Gary Vee on the social side, because so often I tend to go Google, Google, Google. And I work with this guy's name's Dennis Yu. He's the bomb.com when it comes to social. And he promised me, and I'm exclusive, man. I told him, if you're going to work with me, we're going to take over the freaking industry. And he said, I'm going to show you that I can get you more leads from social at the end of the funnel, people that want you, than Google. And I said, dude, it's on. I was like, let's do this. So we're working together. But tell me what you learned from Gary Vee in the social side. Man, just some tips, some gold nuggets.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink the content that you're putting out. Like, far too many times we'll have customers that are trying to record it and delete and record and delete and say the right thing over and over again. Don't overthink it. Post small clips and just put them out there, because social is meant to be social. Like, you don't constantly want to cram sales down people's throat. It's supposed to be an interactive forum, right? But you also, I think the two pillar things that Gary said to me, or his team said to me, would be find education or entertainment. Make those two things your pillars. So whatever you're posting, you'll guide it to one of those, whether it's informative or entertainment. And then once you've given value, like Gary will say, give value, give value, give value, and then you can make a subtle offer on something. It's okay to make that offer because you have a service to provide. But you do not do it constantly. So the more interactive you can make these videos, especially if you're doing charitable type things we were talking about, record everything, share everything, okay? Once you can connect somebody watching your stuff emotionally, you're in. You've got that emotional connection. Now it's what do you do with it? But you don't want to be fake. Like, I think the big mistake a lot of the HVAC guys made when COVID hit was starting to push indoor air quality way too hard. It was like, wait, now you're just trying to like sell me indoor air quality. I understand it. They should have been pushing it. It's just they waited till that came, but that was the opportunity that came up, was to sell indoor air quality.
Oh yeah, I remember.
All the airborne stuff. So you had to be really careful on how you put it out there. And it was, don't sell it, educate on it, and let them come and ask you, because they will come. It's the if you build it, they will come methodology. But this sales by education model is great. It works exceptionally well in the social space. If you're going to have specific offerings, like here's another example. Customer I was talking to today, I have a social media team. He doesn't use me for social media. It's okay. He uses a buddy of mine that I know, and his tactics are different. It's a different lead than me. You can actually pull in decent lead volume through social. If you do like a financing offers, those work exceptionally well. Like save $350 off AC installation as low as $49 a month. But then you attract that type of customer. So
they're cheaper.
Don't you expect it to be a big ticket item, because it's not going to be. But if you're not worried about that, then it does a really good job of those things. So the way that we do things on social is we try to do as much non-selling as we possibly can and just putting out education, entertainment, making it fun, building engagement. And then when it comes time to make an offer, we make an offer. We're just not doing it every week. It might be every other week or once every 3 weeks. So educate and entertain. Those are my two things. And don't overthink the content that you're putting out.
So do you believe in, this is just, my brain is going a million miles an hour, so it's good because there's so many questions that I'm just, so influencer marketing, some people, there's a guy named Michael Keening a long time ago, he used to have this influencer finder. And it would find out, do you have 5,000 friends? Are you an influencer? What's your social like? You know influencer marketing. So do you go after those people and get them involved? My buddy Josh owns Snow. He's my old partner, the teeth whitening thing. And he built the whole freaking company off of influencer marketing. He's got Tim Tebow, or not Tim Tebow, one of Gronkowski.
Oh, Gronkowski.
And this dude's always on there with his thing. He's visited him right down the street from here. And is that a strategy that you believe in?
I think it's a branding strategy, but I think something that's a little bit more valuable for my type of customers, because I would say 80% of RYNO's customers are HVAC, the other 15% would be plumbing, the other 5% would be electrical, roofing, like those types of customers. But what is a good little tactic that you can do is search for hashtags that involve your industry, okay? Like if you're in plumbing, search for hashtag drain cleaning or hashtag unclogged drain. Look at everybody that's on there and just take 5 minutes and respond to as many of those ads as you can from yourself. When you hit hashtag drain cleaning, look at the account, whoever posted it, and then reply to their question. It'll help build your following, but it's free, it's organic. So you do that for every service that you offer.
Oh, so that's if someone has a real question.
So I'm just saying, like,
so an audience.
All you're trying to do is build an audience organically, right?
Yeah.
But if you have like influencer marketing, it's helpful because you just can't expect the cost per lead like there to be a cost per. It's a branding effort. Like you're trying to build the audience. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to use you. It's like forget the local guy used to use Luis Gonzalez all the time, and or Dan Marley for the emergency chiropractic stuff. It was you use him to guide them to you, but you just can't have this expectation of as soon as I get this influencer on board, I'm going to start getting a lot of business. It just helps build your following, which then helps if you continue to use your educate and entertain methodology, you will start to build that emotional connection to those people, and then when they're ready to use you, they will use you. So our market's a little wonky when it comes to using influencers.
I was going to ask you because I think about this commercial I always see, like reverse mortgage, Tom Selleck from Magnum PI.
Of course.
And, and he's just like, and I would never recommend it if I didn't believe in it. And you guys think it's a scam, and it's not. Give my guys a try. I wouldn't be out here endorsing it if I didn't believe. And what I realized is what they did is smart. They used multiple regression testing to find out the age, the income, the channels. They used a targeted data approach. And then they said, this guy's going to be affordable because his heyday, I'm sorry, Tom, but your heydays came and gone. But you're huge to that audience. And so you're buying it at cheap times, you're getting in front of the right audience, and you're able to get that quality lead. So I just think that there's a huge opportunity there. I was talking to someone the other day about this on my podcast. I got his information right over there. But anyway, I do think there's some things to be done, and it's thinking outside of the box. I think that what Gary Vee did, you look at Grant Cardone, you look at, I just know all these guys, Perry Belcher, Ryan Dice, they all kind of have the ability to think outside of the box. And there's this circle that we paint around and say, this has been done, and Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble's kind of losing they're still a monster.
Huge, yeah.
But they're still, the small guys are getting creative. You're using things like TikTok where people say, dude, TikTok doesn't work for my stuff. And I'm going, wait a minute. TikTok might be, I don't know what to sell on it yet, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but there's no reason why not. You can't post on all these things.
The future customers are.
You get them before they're 21.
You ain't kidding. Okay, I'm going to piggyback down this path on what we were talking about earlier. There's a gentleman by the name of Bobby Jenkins, probably one of the best human beings I've ever met. Been on the podcast. Been to his office. He's based out of Austin, Texas. He owns a company called ABC Commercial and Home Services. They literally offer like HVAC, plumbing, lawn care, Christmas lights, pest control. I mean, he offers so many things. Now they've got like 1,000+ people on staff, and they're also in San Antonio and Dallas Fort Worth. But this guy, if you go and look at ABC stuff, he's got this little anteater as his logo. He does so many things with so many people around town. This guy's probably the best networker ever.
Yeah.
But he's just a genuine good dude.
Yep.
Like part of his deal that he did during all this COVID stuff was he every day for lunch and for dinner would go to a different restaurant to buy food from them.
Oh, I've heard this.
And then he would post it. Like he would take a picture of him posting it, and so he was getting all this like. But he was just doing it because he's a good dude.
Yeah, to help these restaurants out, right?
But every time he would go, he would tag all of these people. So he's one of those guys that became this weird influencer for them in that industry. But just because he has a big following, because they're a big company. But I like the idea of him because when he tags those people, those companies, then everybody else that likes them will see his post come up and know like he was a part of this and he's doing good stuff for the community.
Ooh, that's smart. I like that. So you're almost reverse engineering. So let me ask you, there's two frame of thoughts here. You got a guy like me that's going into every city in North America with garage doors. I do residential, retrofit. I don't do Home Depots anymore. I don't do new construction. I am focused more than I've ever been. I got out of home warranties. All of these things I've made a lot of money on. Sure. So I'm actually saying no to money. I'm like, oh, $30,000 job? Nope, sorry. Oh, it's so hard for me. I usually say no, not now. We're not doing that right now because it's so hard to say no. I just say no. Can't do it right now. But and then you got other guys that are like, I own this audience in this area. It's a small audience, but I own everything. And you look at Parker and Sons, they do $120 million in Phoenix.
Yep.
So the question that I have for you, and there's no right or wrong answer, and you could disagree with what I'm doing, because it doesn't matter. I mean, people have different strokes, different folks. Where do you see, because you know a lot of these home service companies, where are you seeing the most success? And someone's probably saying, this is the question we've all asked ourselves. Do I focus and grow outwards this way, or do I own this audience and give them a bunch of vertical services?
Man, you mean should they, about adding an additional service?
Should they live in their population size? So I guess what I'm saying is, should I do HVAC, plumbing, electrical, garage doors, Christmas lights? That's kind of funny that hits home for me because I had a Christmas light business. Or should I say, I just do this, and I'm going to hit this, and I'm going to be the best at this thing. So I'm either going to own this, everything these people do, or own this trade and hit a...
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, so I literally had this conversation with a guy named Chris Hunter.
Oh, I know Chris. Yeah.
So because
he just started working for Titan. Yeah.
Yeah, man, because he started in Ardmore, Oklahoma, little bitty.
I know exactly.
So we just had this conversation because it is something that I get asked a lot. And this is my methodology, right?
Yeah,
and it just so happened that it aligned with Chris's methodology.
Here we go.
It is, I believe, you focus on what you're best at. So if that's garage doors, if it's plumbing, if it's electrical, whatever it is, you focus on that first and dial that in that you're really, really, really exceptionally good at, that you're giving great customer service at, and all those things.
Yep.
My 2 cents is, if you launch that in Scottsdale, Arizona, and well, let's use a different market because there's so many markets here, but if you launched it in Flagstaff,
sure.
Okay, then you would say, I'm going to do the same thing because I know the industry, I have my processes in place, I know my KPIs.
You got your vendors.
I know all my shit together on this one. It's easier for me to go now here into a different location and build it. The reason, that's what Chris Hunter did, he just started adding other services after, but he knew like, hey, there's no way I'm going to be 10 million in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Sure.
So he had to start dipping outside of it. But he said he learned what he was best at, and then started going into other locations.
Nail it and scale it is what I call it.
And once he was good with it, then he could start layering in the other services and cross-selling.
Yep, I agree with that.
So I'm of the same methodology. This is why, like, I've had people reach out to me trying to buy RYNO, and like everybody will say, I'm interested in selling. I would probably sell if the number was right, but I'm having so much fun building this thing that it's. But I've stayed true to what I've done. I've not tried to dip outside the shit that I'm best at.
That's what I like. Is you're a specialist, and every time me and my managers, we get into arguments, and I'm so much different than I used to be. I'm like, no. I'm like, if this person's going to come on, they're going to do this thing great. And then they're going to have 2 or 3 tops, 5 key performance indicators evolved around their job. When you start stacking it and say, well, they need to do this, they need to be able to drive here for inventory, they need to be able to consult the guys on this, they need to be doing HR. And I'm like, so they're a jack of all trades again. So now when something goes wrong, we say, why didn't you do this right? They say, well, I was doing this, and this. And when you're small, all of us wear a lot of hats. I mean, you wore every hat.
Everyone, yeah.
And what's nice about an owner that's been able to do that is you say, this hat I hate. I'm going to write a job description of who I'm looking for. It's easy to write it because you're like, it's got to be someone opposite of me, different personality type. And these are the people that I find hard to get along with because I'm like I really love our finance team. Like, we get along great, but I'm like, don't put me in a bubble. But at the same time, I'm like, I understand why you have to do it. Yeah. We've got to report to banks. Ultimately, I want to have a huge line there. We do. We've got like $7 million that we can pull from. And I always say, borrow the money when you don't need it. A guy called me the other day. He's like, dude, I got an opportunity to get a $100,000 SBA. And I go, the SBA from this Corona? And he goes, yeah. He goes, but my wife will kill me. I said, dude, do you know what that interest rate is? I'm like, if you just put it in a savings account, you'll make money.
Make money on it.
I'm like, you got to take the money, and because one day there's an opportunity going to come along. And it's going to be like, today you got to have the money. And for some reason, the deal will find you when that money's there, trust me. And you're just going to be an idiot not to take it. And I said, dude, I'll deal with your wife. No, I didn't say that. I'd be crazy to say that. I'm not married for a reason, though. But listen, I got to keep going with this stuff, but I want to ask you a few last questions. So we've got the branding. You're doing something with Gary V. Gary, you decided you're going about it, and you're having a few people attend because you truly believe that a small, more intimate gathering is more important to you than just sell it out and make it a bunch of money, right?
Yeah. So the whole methodology with that is, if you've listened to what I've been saying even during this podcast,
quality over quantity.
I like to give, dude. Like, I want to make sure that whatever we're doing for our customers is the best it can possibly be. And if you're part of the RYNO family, meaning you're a customer of ours or an employee or partner, whatever it is, you're part of the family, I like to be able to give back to them. And if it means like, hey, some of these guys really love Gary Vee and they've said, hey, I really want to meet him, it's not how it works. He doesn't work that way, right? You can't just be like, I want to meet with Gary Vee and then go have a dinner with him unless you drop like $50,000 to go to one of his, like, to see him for an hour. Yeah. To go and be one of like 15 people in a room. But
I love him, but that's crazy to me still.
Yeah, well, wouldn't me either. So, but if I could take this partnership and then use that, so some of my guys, like, I invite you to come and hang out with us, because if you could ask him 2 things that unlock something for you on your path to 1 billion, and I was a piece of that, I'm fucking happy about that. Like, that to me is the coolest thing. It's like anytime we get customer testimonials, it's literally the best thing that I get is seeing what people are saying about us, how we changed this, part of their business, or we saved a part of the business, or whatever. The most rewarding thing I ever get at. This just allows me another path to do that with some of my bigger guys, my bigger partnerships, and I did that. I made that happen, and that's pretty cool.
Well, dude, you talk about being the dumbest person in the room. When you surround yourself, I just talked to Roland Frazier this weekend, and he's like, dude, I had to introduce you to this guy. You need to go meet him. And it's so cool that I can make phone calls now, and it's elevated. I won't say my stature. I'll just say this: I've become dumber and dumber the smarter I get.
Yeah,
the world opens up. It's weird how that gets.
No,
I'm like,
you're like no, dude. Like, you downplay yourself a little bit, but you have, like, you also earned a lot of this stuff, right? And you took the time to say and be humble enough to say, I want to keep learning more. I want to be around people smarter than me. I'm no different. Like, I like being able to. The podcast has been phenomenal because I've learned so much shit. Like, I've learned so
that's huge.
much, and I've got so many notes, and I keep everybody's notes. I'm getting smarter. So not only is it helping the same thing with this podcast is super successful because it's helping those listening have tactical takeaways. Ours is no different. It's just the guest that comes on are giving back. Well, shit, it's giving back to me too. Like, I'm learning a lot of cool new stuff that's making me better as a leader, making me better as a business owner, and even as a human being. And that's the fun stuff, man. We got one go around the sun, and I want to get it right. So I feel like as long as I continue to put my employees and my customers first, everything else is going to fall in place for me. I can lay my head down at night and sleep peacefully.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I want to ask one more thing because, and then I ask the same 3 questions after every podcast. But I've got ideas coming out of we're like this. Me and you are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs is the bright light, and we've got really good ideas. But the question is there so many things we need to do? And I think a skill that's kind of evolved over when you get big enough and you learn how to delegate properly is identifying the first big bottleneck to accomplish first. And I've got ideas. They're stacked in my idea. You see my Google Drive. It's like, it's like, dude, this guy's got ideas. But my staff does a really good job of pulling back the ropes and saying, dude, come on. I'm on bungee cords. But I got a lot of good ideas. How do you kind of handle that? Because I think a lot of the listeners right now, they go through that same struggle.
How I have to deal with it is I have an executive team. My executive team, I am a lot like you, and where I'll be thinking out of thin air, I want to add these 2 data analysts to our team. And I'll tell our COO, and she's like, we don't need those people. Like, we need 18 other people here versus these 2 data analysts. And I'm like, no, we need it because of this. And so, or I'll say, hey, I want to start, offering OTT over the top, marketing because, I've been watching so much Haibu and Disney Plus and all this shit lately. Like, let's figure it out. And then they were like, why, Chris? You're not following your own methodology. Like, stick to the shit that you're good at. It's good if you don't try to. If you think like you really want to do it in the moment, you're excited about it. You need to write that shit down and come back, sleep on it, and come back to it. Like, I thrive on instant gratification, which is why the digital marketing space is so good for you because I can turn on some ads and I can see what they're doing, by the end of the day. But I have always found the practice of don't just jump, even if I'm so excited and so certain, don't just jump into it. I will go to, and if you don't have somebody that's on your if you don't have somebody to go to that's on your team, go to a peer and ask them, maybe not a competitive one or in your market, but go to a peer and ask them. I just happen to use, in my executive meetings, I have 2 a week. And those are the meetings where I bring up anything new that we might potentially do, and it goes to a vote. And even though I'm the CEO of the company, I can be outvoted, and I am outvoted.
I hate being outvoted. I got 5. I'm one of the 5, and I'm like, I should count as like 3 though. But
see,
I don't do that. I don't do that. But I'm like, there's some things, and I snapped the other day, and I go, dude, this is going to cost us tens of millions of dollars if you guys don't see it my way. And then I'm pretty firm on this, but go ahead. And actually, I was super and they all sensed my frustration. And then I drew it on the whiteboard. I got this. I had one of our digital designers design it. And I go, tell me how this way fails, and I'll listen to you. And they're like, why can't we test it? I'm like, because testing it'll waste time. But anyway, keep going. I'm
Test and invest.
That's right.
Test and invest. Yeah, I think that I get it, man, because that's a lot like how I am. But it's so healthy for good growth that way, because you need to have somebody play devil's advocate to think through the entire deal.
And I listen to these guys, and most of the time, Adam's my COO. He came in and he goes, dude, I don't think we should be doing property management, home warranties. And I said, well, if it's done properly, and he showed me some on the whiteboard, I go, done, scratch it, get rid of it, call him today, we're canceling it.
Moving on.
You can't get mad with black and white. And what I feel, my feelings don't matter in the numbers. I'm sorry, but your feelings don't matter. And that's where the black and white, the ink that gets printed out, if you got a data integrity team and it's right, there's a key there. You got to have the right data. But if you're measuring the right data, it will lead you to the right decision.
Yeah, so which is perfect. So for anybody listening, you said the key word, feeling. I fucking hate the word feeling, okay? Yeah. Let me tell you what. So there's this event coming up called Service World Expo. I'm speaking at it down in Tampa.
Yeah,
September.
I know about it. Yep.
So I'll be down there. I think I'm flying Air Gettle out with.
Oh, nice. Air Gettle.
But we're going down there. I'm speaking, and my breakout is called Stop Feeling and Start Knowing. And it's because I get so sick of people saying, like, oh, I feel like this thing is working. I feel like this isn't working. I feel like these guys are screwing me over. I feel like these guys do a great job. Stop fucking feeling, right? Track everything. There's no reason you can't track. Throw a call tracking number on there, on anything that you're doing, and listen to the phone number. Like, listen to the phone lines. Hire an intern to listen to the phones for you, because I promise you, what you will gain is far greater than what you think you're going to save in paying for that intern. But for God's sake, start tracking everything. Call tracking numbers are ridiculously cheap to get. And if
I don't pay anything through Service Titan. That wasn't a plug. I don't make any money either. But.
And I got a great relationship with Service Titan. And so what's great is that if you throw a call tracking number on, and this is actually a good point you bring up, I'm talking about in this program, is you cannot only rely on your Service Titan or your field management software because it's not catching everything on the front end.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to track lead opportunity versus closed lead and closed revenue. You need to understand what the miss is on your cost per acquisition. So if you throw a call tracking number on there, and like for instance, my team listens to it the next day, I'm catching all the issues that might be happening with your team well before it gets into your service type, like you sold a job.
Right.
So I'm catching it early. Or something that wasn't even designated as a lead in service type that was still a lead. But you have to put these things in place so you can make those good decisions to grow based on facts, based on the black and white facts. So stop feeling and start now.
Yeah, stop feeling, guys. Listen, if you can't afford somebody to do this stuff and listen to your calls, and maybe you don't have an agency or don't have the money for that, there's a thing called Call Cap. Susie Boyder, she was on the podcast years ago, but she's amazing. She's got a thing called Call Assurance. They'll listen to the calls for you. They'll grade your CSRs. Tell her I sent you. Maybe she'll give you a discount. I don't get anything back, but ultimately, you're playing with the big boys once you get over here with Chris. 3 things. What's your top 3 books?
So top 3 books. Number 1 was of course the E-Myth Revisits. First one I ever read. I know you got
the original. I got them everywhere, but I got the one they signed is. Yeah.
I got my OG version, the paperback.
Yep.
I've got that one. So I read that one in the beginning just so I could start to learn what the hell I was even doing. And I've read it multiple times. Now I've not read it as many times as Ken, but I've read it enough. I like another book called Can't Hurt Me. David Goggins. David Goggins it's about more the mental game. I love the mental side of everything. And it's about basically pushing yourself through the pain, not necessarily the pain physically, but the pain of like fear.
It's easy to give up.
Doing things, yeah. And
it's tenacity and the consistency, and it's so easy to give up. And I got living with his roommate living with the seal right there.
Yeah, Jesse Itzler. So Jesse Itzler's my guy. I know Jesse. I went to hang out with him in Georgia last time. I took my executive team and went and hung out with Jesse.
I like that you're doing that. Listen, he's going to the people that he enjoys being around. He's letting them almost soak in to his team. And that's a game changer. That's the one thing I tell at the end of every podcast when people say, Tommy, what's one piece of advice? I'm like, get your ass up, fly out of your comfort zone, bring your wife, bring your kids, bring your husband, and bring your team, and get there and just soak it in. Get out of your it's great to go on a luncheon, but this is a game changer. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, your leadership is like extremely important for your growth plan. So I need to pour into them. So I went to Jesse. Jesse brought in like a memory coach. He brought in like a self-help guy. It was like a physical piece there, but we all did that shit together. So we built that bond. And it was, they all got smarter because of it. The smarter they are, the better they are for our employees, which is better for our customers.
And then what's the third one?
Well, I would have chose Living with the Seal.
that one counts. Give them one more.
Because it went from that to it.
Yeah.
So I would say, gosh.
I'm looking at my bookshelf, man. I'm
dude, I know my wife would kill me right now too. So, I don't know that I have a third book. Listen, here's the thing I'm worst at, is because I can't focus on what I have ADD. If I listen to an Audible book, if I start to check out, I know it's not a book for me. I have to actually force myself to listen to these things. There's not been any plane rides lately.
That's the thing. I just got done with a plane ride, so I knocked out a couple.
God, I don't know that I have.
You know what? Let me give you one. Let me give you guys one to read. It's by Robert Cialdini. It's called Yes, and it's 50 ways. It's 50 ways of persuasion, and it's these little chapters, and it's just so cool because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read 2 of them to my team every morning. I'm actually going to play the Audible on my Zoom call, and I'm like, look, if there's an idea that sparks, all I want you guys doing is using your brains just a couple minutes a day. That's all you need to do. And if you get something, sometimes the best gold comes out of this stuff.
Yeah. You whiteboard, you throw it on there, and there's $1 million.
Whiteboard, more whiteboard. I got a whiteboard in my kitchen. I got one right here, just everywhere.
My offices are all glass.
See? Yeah.
So we write everything.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you, Chris, give us some websites, give us your email, whatever the best way, LinkedIn, I don't know, what's the best way?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give you a couple different ways. One, if you guys are listening to The Point Home Services podcast, we have our Facebook, Instagram pages. Same thing for RYNO. We have both of those if you want to reach out that way. I am a very accessible guy. I make myself accessible. That doesn't mean I will respond the same day, but most often I try to make sure I respond within 24 hours. You can reach out to me through email, which is CYANO @RYNOSS, spelled RYNOSS.com. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me directly, or you're welcome to call our office line too, which is, what is my office line? I have no idea what my number is. It's been a long time. Just email. Way easier. Or go to our website.
So basically, I like to finish with giving you the last 2 cents. I wanted to just tell you, I just had Matt Michelle on the podcast, which is the guy, hopefully you guys already heard Matt Michelle's podcast, but he is the guy that runs Service Roundtable.
Right.
Monster. It's just cool. It just becomes, we got this incest of just the top people, but you surround yourself with these great people and you push yourself to learn. Remember, readers are leaders. And whiteboard, we talked about a lot of stuff. I like what you said because I can't beat this enough. Ask. You got to have a plan and you got to ask for it. But we're going to give you the chance here, Chris. You work with so many home service companies and they're all successful. And I want to give you just one last thing to think about. The audience here, it's a big audience. They're going to be all over Facebook, going to be watching us listen to this. Leave them with some gold nuggets, leave them with some final thoughts.
Yeah, man, for sure. I would say, number one thing you have to do is if you're stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're planning on going into doing any digital marketing or you're currently doing it, I cannot stress enough to hold your agencies that are doing your marketing accountable to giving you the metrics that track new business. If you're paying them for new customers, don't let them give you a call number or a contact form number and not split it out for you and give you new versus returning and repeat customers. Make them give you the facts because that's how you're responsible for that. You're responsible for asking for those things if they don't give them to you. And 99% don't give you that much detail unless you ask for it, and even then they won't give it to you. The only reason you don't get reporting to that depth is either one, they don't want a staff to do it, or there's something to hide. There's nothing else around there, right? So you earned that dollar, and you're spending that dollar. You need to know without question what that dollar returns. And that's how you can make good decisions with your digital marketing moving forward. Know definitively if I spend $1, I get X in return for new business. So stop feeling and start knowing what your digital marketing is doing for you. And that can go for like direct mail pieces. Put a call tracking number on it. Throw a specific coupon on that if you're going to use it. Like something you know definitively that lead came from that offer because it was on that postcard. All right? It's your responsibility. You owe it to yourself, your family, your employees, your business to stop feeling and start knowing, track everything. And for God's sake, find a digital marketing company that actually is legit focusing on your business. Not a jack of all trades, master of none. Somebody that knows your business and how your consumer thinks and has been doing it a long time. Do yourself a favor because they exist. And that is my closing remarks.
I got one quick closer on top of that. What I'm going to ask Chris to do for us is go to Home Service Expert, find this podcast, homeserviceexpert.com. I'm going to get a sample. We'll just call it, I can't call it ABC because you have an ABC company. We'll call it DEF. That we're gonna do. Can you give us just a sample of some of the stuff that you report on, so they have an idea?
Yeah. So the To The Point Home Services podcast. The whole reason I did it was, I was telling Tommy earlier, is that it's been a decade of me sitting in war room conversations with home services companies that are extremely successful, going through plans, actionable items that you can take, tactical takeaways. So when we started the podcast, it was bringing on leaders in the industry who have perfected this stuff. Not just in a leadership game, but in what's the best type of maintenance agreement to use? How do you really grow a service business? How do you add an additional service like plumbing we talked about, or electrical? Tools, I actually want them to be boxes that you can check along the way to where you said, man, I listened to this podcast and I took away these 2 things that I can actually implement. And that is the key word. And you and I have talked about this. You can't just listen to it, get jacked up, write shit down, and then do nothing with it, okay?
Everybody does that.
Ambition without action is useless. Useless, okay? And guess what? 95% of you listening... 98% will still do nothing, even though the proven methods are put out there in front of your face. But guess what? The 3% or the 2% that do are the fucking ones that are the most successful.
Well, there's 2%. One of them is going to go implement every freaking thing they just heard. The other one's going to slowly push it through and get with his executive team or her executive team to make it happen. So don't be that guy that walks in and goes, dude, I listened to one of Tommy's podcasts again. We got a plan. We're going to tear it up. So be the 1% that actually has a plan and integrates it. You know, the integrator and implementation. Chris, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Man, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Thanks.